So can the Genesis GV70 really go toe-to-toe with BMW and Audi? Or am I making a mistake by not going conventional? I mean, it looks really good, but what about the way it drives? Now, these might be some questions you're asking yourself if you're thinking about buying a Genesis GV70. But for 2026, Genesis has given the GV70 a refresh, upping its refinement across the entire board. So does that mean it now delivers an equal experience to that of the German luxury competition? Or is it just plain dress up? After driving it around for a week, here's what I found out. Underneath the hood is a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged 6-cylinder that pumps out 375 horsepower and 391 pounds-feet of torque. It's connected to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it's putting power down to all 4 wheels via an all-wheel drive system. Now, fuel economy comes in at 18 in the city, 24 on the highway for a combined average of 20. So as a part of the Sport Prestige trim level, this car is equipped with a limited slip differential in the rear to keep things nice and tidy when you're driving quickly. And suspension-wise, it's got adaptive dampers that uses a live preview camera on the front of the car to scan things up ahead and make adjustments as necessary to give you the most comfortable riding car as possible. So as a part of the refresh, Genesis put in a decent amount of effort to making the GV70's ride characteristics a lot more refined and luxurious. So let's test that out by taking it out for a quick drive. So let's turn this thing on. So I've got 4 modes to play with: Eco, Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. Actually, I've got a 5th mode as well, which is my mode, and it's my favorite actually, because it allows me to customize the suspension, the steering, and the engine response. And for me, I have the engine response in Sport and everything else in Comfort, and I'll explain to you why here in a second. But I'm going to go into in my mode, and let's put the selector in D. And let's give this a quick acceleration pull from a stop. No launch control, a little bit of brake boost. Let's go. Pretty quick. Brakes are good as well. And it'll downshift for you. So this is not a fast car. I would say it's a quick car. 0 to 60 times are estimated in the high 4s, low 5s, and I would say it feels all of that. And the transmission will shift for you. Here we go again. Pulling on the paddle. Yeah, that's a pretty quick speed. So again, this is a quick car. It pulls hard all the way to red line, and I do have it's getting hot in here, so I do have the sound that gets pumped in off, and the V6 sounds good. This is a good sounding V6 just right out of the box. And let me go ahead and put it back in Eco mode, because I'm not really going to punch on this too much, and this is not really meant to be a crazy performance car. But it is quick. It is quick. It does get up and go. It has, 391 pound-feet of torque, which is significant. 400 pounds-feet of torque is nothing to joke at, because on day-to-day driving, that's what you really need. That's what makes the biggest difference. So stop-and-go traffic, merging onto the highway when you need to make that quick pass, that down-low torque comes into handy very, very often, and it's really nice. It's geared nicely in order for you to use that almost 400 pounds-feet of torque. I use this in many daily driving situations. I've had it for a week now, or close to a week, and I took it to dinner, driving on the freeway, driving on the highway, going to work, coming back, and it just works really nice. So the transmission works good as well. This is an 8-speed automatic. The shifts are pretty imperceptible when you're driving here in Eco mode or in Comfort mode. It is, I'll just say this, it can be improved. And the reason why I say that is because I do have paddle shifters, so that's great. It gives me the ability to engage with the car. But It doesn't let me rev it all the way out to red line. It'll shift it by itself, maybe about 500 RPM before. And even when I am using the paddle shifters, there's a slight delay. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because this car competes directly with the BMW X3 M50. And that car with the inline B58 6-cylinder engine and the ZF 8-speed automatic is better than this with that in that aspect of performance. So the B58 feels much sportier than this, and the ZF 8-speed automatic is way crisper in the upshifts and the downshifts, and even in the efficiency department. The BMW gets better miles per gallon. So if performance is something that's high on your priority list, I would absolutely say to look into the BMW. If you're thinking about the Genesis, go drive that BMW as well. All right, so let me give you a quick walk around of some of the very subtle changes on the outside. Starting out with this lower bumper here, so that's revised. It looks a lot more aggressive. Up here, the Genesis crest logo is a little different looking and a little bit more intricate. There's these kind of like this dual layer. There's a black layer here and then the chrome finish on top. That's the new Genesis logo. Out the side, these are the new 21-inch wheels that you get on the Prestige trim level. They have like the Dodge looking stripes there, but nonetheless still very cool, and they do have a metallic finish to it. And out back, the changes are even more subtle. The exhaust pipes, instead of being round, they're more angular, kind of somewhat like a rectangle, but not really. It's kind of got a little cut shape, but the diffuser overall is also a different shape. So very subtle. All right, so now the interior of the GV70, and this is the part of the car that really blew me away. The quality, the fit and finish, the overall design, it's just fantastic. If there was a car whose interior can be described as easy to use, this would definitely be it. This is just a really well thought out interior, and as an overall experience, it's just wonderful. So let me jump into some more details, starting out with these seats. So these are heated, ventilated, and massaging. They have lots of adjustability, including side bolsters that you can manually expand and contract, and the car will automatically do it itself based off of some driving conditions as well. Sitting at 5'11", I have plenty of headroom, I have a decent amount of legroom, and the overall front cabin space is perfect for someone my size. Blending this all in, the overall seat comfort score is 8.5. Now, I did want to quickly talk about the interior quality because it's so good. All of the materials in this trim are fantastic. The orange stitching and seatbelt highlights Genesis' new racing program, but they also make the interior feel and look very cool. All knobs and switches have a nice finish too, and the headliner is covered in a suede-like material. The other things I love about the GV70 is the layout and the ergonomics of it. You've got a nice mix of physical buttons and knobs mixed in with the screens. The air conditioning system even has its own dedicated area, which is always a plus. And in the center section, there are two knobs that control the infotainment system and the transmission, which are finished in this mirror crystal-like finish and make the interior feel more luxurious. Now, I do have a complaint about these knobs, which is that they're too close to each other. When I first jumped into the GV70, I found myself reaching for the infotainment controller when I was really looking for the transmission shifter. Now, moving to the tech, the GV70 has a 27-inch widescreen OLED, and the impressive thing about it is that it's a single screen with no breaks in it whatsoever. It's just a beautiful looking piece of equipment. The graphics are sharp and crisp. The infotainment system itself is good as well. It's a modern looking system with a nice user interface, and it's actually quite simple once you get used to it. The benefit of having it all be on one screen is that Genesis has blended in the gauges with the infotainment screen. Now, one example of the benefits of this is when I was routing to a destination, I can have this immersive map that spans all across the dash. And the best thing about it is that they've taken into account the steering wheel, so it's not really impeding into anything important. Now, what else can I tell you? There's a head-up display that's configurable. The Bang & Olufsen sound system is good. There's Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And there's a nicely positioned fast-charging wireless charger. All right, now the back seats very quickly. Sitting behind myself at 5'11", I have plenty of legroom. I have plenty of headroom. I do have the ability to adjust the backrest, which is quite surprising at this price point. Overall width, I would say 3 adults will probably squeeze in here for a short period of time. 3 children are going to be just fine. There are 2 child latch anchors for children's seats. Because this is the prestige trim level, I do have a 3rd climate control zone for the backseat passengers, which is always nice. There is this manual sunshade. I do have a panoramic roof that I can peek out, so this is one of my favorite amenities for the backseat passengers. And the additional bonus, triple bonus, I suppose, for Genesis here, 2 USB charging ports plus a 115 volt outlet, meaning you can charge a laptop, or for example, right now I'm charging my camera's battery. So big thumbs up to Genesis for charging capabilities in the back seats. Now let's take a look at the trunk. Now the storage space in the back, you open it up via this button here, which I must say is very Porsche-esque, blended into the rear wiper. But once you open it up, you're greeted with 28.9 cubic feet of space when the rear seats are folded up, and when they're folded down, it expands to 56.9 cubic feet of space, which I gotta say is slightly less than the BMW X3, but I still don't see any issues with the cargo space here. Easily fit 3, maybe even 4 or 5 pieces of carry-on size traveling equipment in the back, depending on how you rack and stack, of course. Weekend getaways, moving your kids around, day-to-day activities, I don't see any problems there. Some of the details here, there is a spare right there. Very surprising in a modern car. A 12 volt outlet back there, and another double bonus here. When you fold the rear seats down, you can do it from the back seat or in the trunk, and you don't have to go to the front of the car. This is what it looks like when both of them fold down. They seem like they're pretty flat up there. Now to close the trunk, like typical, 2 buttons here. This one closes the trunk and locks it. This one just closes it as you're walking away. Nice and easy. Now let's talk about the comfort, and this is where the GV70 I think really shines. It's got that adaptive suspension with the camera preview it's using to kind of make the adjustments as you're driving. And I think it works really, really nicely. The comfort area, I drove over several different road surfaces. This one is adequately paved, and it really hides a lot of the imperfections on the road. Even when you're on bumpy surfaces, it does a good job. It's not as good as an air suspension. Let me check your expectation there. But it is probably on the better end of a dynamic damper controlled system that I've driven. So it really suits daily drivability very nicely. So I'm going to merge onto the highway here for a quick highway run, and an example of it, even in eco mode, I'm already going close to highway speeds here. And one of the reasons I like to go onto the highway, I want to demonstrate the self-driving capabilities of this, or the radar cruise control. So let us set this to 65 and hands off the steering wheel. And I think it does a good job of staying in the lane. I have driven the other Genesis, I believe it's the GV60, the all-electric, and that did a good job. This one does a good job as well. It keeps the car pretty centered in the lane, and it will stop all the way and then keep rolling when the cars speed up. And here it is braking. I do have to keep my hand on the wheel to let it know that I'm still awake. So it's not fully autonomous driving, but it will slow down, speed up, do all of that stuff, and it works pretty nicely. Now, the other nice thing about this car are the safety settings. So there's a slew of stuff in here. So when I want to change my lane, that mirror thing comes up and it mirrors what's going on to my right, and it's basically eliminates all blind spots. I do have a redundant blind spot monitor. Looking over my shoulder is fantastic. There's cross traffic alerts, and it lets you know when the car in front of you is pulling away if you're distracted. So there's a lot of complexity in the safety system in this car, and basically throughout my several days of driving this, it's pretty seamless. There's basically no hiccups that I've experienced. So that's kudos to Genesis. One thing I did forget to mention, the camera technology is good as well. 360, the curb view and all of that stuff. So it works really nicely in this car. Now, the other thing is the fuel efficiency. So this is the 3.5T, the higher output engine. There is a 4-cylinder 2.5, and the efficiency is not the best. So I've driven this car 94.6 miles, and it's averaging 16.3 miles per gallon, which is less than advertised. It's 18 in the city, 25 on the highway for a combined average of 20. So this is a little bit less than that. And this is kind of what I was talking about with the BMW earlier. The efficiency numbers in the BMW with the same output are better than this, or even the 2.5T motor for the Genesis. And it was dropped off to me with a full tank of gas. It showed slightly over 300 miles of range. I think it was 305, 306, something like that. So the tank isn't that big. So if efficiency is something very important to you, then the BMW is going to be more efficient than the Genesis. Now, in that comfort department, Genesis made a very, very big effort to make this car more refined and more quiet. And I gotta say that they've hit the mark there. I'm driving with the windows up, everything is closed, the air conditioning system is on. I'm getting very, very little road noise and wind noise. It feels pretty isolated in here. Overall, the GV70's driving experience is still fantastic. I think that it's a great daily driver car, and the overall setup of it, as I mentioned earlier, the ergonomics, the way everything is laid out, the buttons, the knobs, the switches, and everything like that, it makes for a fantastic daily driver. Is it perfect? No, but I haven't met a car that is. So that's all I've got. Now let's wrap it up with a steady score and some final thoughts. So that's the Genesis GV70. Now let's give it a steady score where I rank it across 5 different categories and give you an overall score at the end, 0 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. So let's start off with styling, 8.5. Let's keep it short and sweet. I like the way the GV70 looks. Performance, 7.0. Let's be real, this is quick in a straight line, but it's not a real performance car. Comfort, 8.7. The interior is very comfortable. Ergonomics, fit and finish, the overall layout, just a great place to be. Technology, 8.5. The widescreen display, the heads-up display, tied in with all the safety features, making all those work well is difficult, and the GV70 has pulled it off. Pricing, 7.8. Now, I do think it's worth it, but at $73,000, some people are going to raise an eyebrow to this and say, well, the BMW X3 M50i, when similarly equipped, is basically a little bit cheaper than this car. But let's put that aside for a second. Overall score, 8.1. Now, I do think that the GV70 punches a little bit above that 8.1 score, and that's because throughout my 1 week of ownership, I do think that this is a wonderful car to drive as an overall experience. The interior is great. Daily drivability is fantastic. So please go out and drive one and experience it yourself if you're considering one of these cars. So that's all I've got. If you got any questions, please make sure you leave me a comment down below or shoot me a message on TikTok or Instagram at DriveSteady. Thank you to Genesis for giving me the opportunity to review the GV70. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Otherwise, thank you for watching this video. Until next time. Drive steady.